Welcome to the Refurbishment Mastery podcast with me, Martin Rapley. If you're a property investor who is worried about paying too much for your next property, concerned that you don't know how to manage a refurb, or scared that you will be ripped off by a builder, then this is for you. In this podcast, I share over 30 years of experience of managing refurbishments and conversions to help you make more profit, save your time, and ultimately enjoy the process. On with the podcast. Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode in which I am going to aim to help you avoid what can be costly delays to your projects. And these are the kinds of delays that we as clients can inadvertently cause our builders, and not only cause a delay, therefore a cost arising from the fact that the project takes longer, but we can also get to a point where we just disrupt the builder so much that they start to get annoyed with us as a client and start to focus their energies working on projects and with clients that are not frustrating them and not annoying them. And so I'm going to share with you 5 ways to avoid causing these delays, really from the perspective that I see it on a frequent basis that property investors are causing some of these delays. And I've also heard it from the other side, from builders who can sometimes be frustrated with their clients, not just property investor clients, when these issues start to come about on their projects. So I'll take you through these 5. Hopefully you're not making any of them. Hopefully these will just give you a bit of a reassurance that you're on top of your projects. But if you are having some difficulties, one of these 5 may be the cause of that. So the first tip to avoid causing delay to your project is to be really clear with your builder critical dates for anything that you need to get involved with. That could be a decision with respect to the scope of works. That could be the purchase of some materials. It could be the choice of the materials, things like that. So anything where you have to have a physical involvement before the builder can actually complete any element of the work, you need to have a discussion with the builder and establish those critical dates. And remember, if the critical date is to have the kitchen on site on Monday, you need to factor in that there is a delivery period in here. There's a design period in here, a design that may go back several times. There's time for you to look at the various different options of kitchens, do some research and understand what you need to do. So as a result of a date, we need the kitchen on this particular date, you possibly need to factor in perhaps a 6-week runway, a 6-week lead in to get to that particular critical date from the builder. And of course, you always want to factor in a little bit more float because something will go wrong somewhere along the way. So there's the first tip. Have the conversation with the builder, understand critical dates, and ensure that you meet all of those critical dates with some float, some contingency in there, just in case something goes wrong. The second tip is, as best as possible, you really want to specify as much as you can for your project in advance. And I'd encourage you to write a comprehensive schedule of works so that the builder is pricing and knows as much about the project at pricing stage, rather than them having to go back to point 1, give you lots of critical dates for giving them further information. Now, your first schedule of works is definitely going to take you the longest to put together. And after you've done that, what you'll start to do is copying and pasting a lot of content from previous schedules of work. And of course, if you've already done one project, you'll already know your preferred styles, your preferred finishings, your preferred products that you like to use, your colors for paints and things like that. And if you don't put all of that into the schedule of works, you could at least have a lot of that on a summary document, which you can give to the builder immediately or possibly even before the builder starts, so that all of those questions have gone and disappeared in good time. A lot of my projects, my own projects, I actually put all of those details into the schedule of works because, first of all, it gives clarity to the builder that you've thought through the project that you're asking them to price. But secondly, it demonstrates to them that they are not going to be disrupted as the works go forward because there's nothing really to disrupt them because everything has been thought out in advance. Now, as I say, the first one of these you do is definitely going to be hard. But as you get more and more experienced, as you refurbish more and more properties, you will get to the point where you can copy and paste large amounts. And that will definitely save you being tripped up later on. And, you know, I suppose the other thing here is by putting it all into your schedule of works, you're also envisaging and planning the whole project in one go rather than planning most of it for the schedule of works and then having to get your head back into it later on as the works go on. And certainly the seasoned developers, the seasoned property investors that have been carrying out works like this for many years will actually want to really focus on one project for a week or so, get everything in their head and then everything down onto paper for that one project, and not have to revisit it from a design perspective later on. So that means they've freed up their headspace to actually be buying more properties, managing multiple refurbishments, doing other things outside of property investing with a family, for instance. So aim to design as much as you can in advance, get all of that into the schedule of works, and you've got much less chance of causing a delay to your builder. The third tip is whenever you go to the project and you meet your builder, always ask the builder if there is anything that he needs from you. So make it a point as part of the conversation. Do you need anything from me? Is there anything I can help you with? Is there, have you got any questions, anything that's not clear, anything you want to talk about? So give them the opportunity every single time that you visit them to unload on you. If they've got any concerns, any problems, any queries, any questions, any uncertainties, anything, give them that opportunity to discuss them with you. You may go back to point number one and agree some critical dates. There might be something that's got overlooked. So you can ask what those critical dates are and you can work backwards from there. But giving the opportunity to the builder to open up to you, you may well be able to help them solve a challenge. They might have a challenge buying something that actually you could go home, you could spend half an hour on the internet, do the research, find the product, maybe buy it for them, maybe point them in the right direction. And of course, all the time you're doing that, they're actually getting on and building and they're delivering your project quicker. And if you do help your builder out at the right kind of level, they will see you as a better client to work for. So they'll be focusing on your project more. And as I said in the introduction, you will be one of those clients that they'd like to work with again. And when they've got other clients that are messing them about, they'll come back to you over some of those people because you are not only a good client because you've got it all written out and it's all planned, but you've also helped them out along the way with little challenges they've had. You've You've perhaps phoned building control and asked a slightly more technical question or got clarification on something. Anything you can do to help them out will speed them through. Remember, they are good at building. They know how to build, but they're not necessarily as good researching things on the internet, talking a little bit more technical with some people, and sometimes they just don't want to spend the time making phone calls, particularly if they have to phone someone and then they're not available, and then they phone back at the wrong time and they're in the middle of something else. It may be that you're in a position to help them out and do some of that for them to allow them to get on and build. Just jumping in to make sure that you've got everything you need. Now, in a number of these podcasts, you'll have heard me talk about other property investors that I'm currently working with or have worked with in the past. And so I wanted to ensure that you can find out how you can actually work with me. And the best place to start with that is my website, www.refurbishmentmastery.com. On there, you'll find details of training courses that I run. You'll find details about my community and also how you can work with me on a one-to-one basis when you are progressed far enough down the line. And then if you're not really sure what's right for you and how we can work together, then there's a button at the top. Just hit the button at the top that says book a call. It's absolutely free. It will take you to my diary, find a slot, and we'll be able to talk in the next couple of weeks. Remember, the website is refurbishmentmastery.com. I really look forward to helping you with a successful delivery of all of your projects. Now back to the podcast. Now, point number 4 does actually touch back on point number 1, but I've got it in here again because this is really, really important. And I want to dig into this, go into this a little bit deeper. And that is that if you are arranging deliveries of anything, you really do need to ensure that you've got enough float for those deliveries to go wrong. Because if they are last minute, that unwritten law says they will go wrong. And you don't want to be the cause of a delay as a result of something you've organised being delivered late. So do factor in early deliveries. Now, you're going to have to work with your builders here, because if you need, let's say, something large like a kitchen on a certain date, it's inconvenient for the builder to have that 2 weeks in advance. It's going to be in the way. There's a likelihood that it hinders other work. There's a likelihood that it gets damaged. So you need to work with your builder here. But if the kitchen is required on Monday, I would be looking to get it there the previous Tuesday or Wednesday, because that means if it's the last delivery on Wednesday, it's effectively, you can look at it on Thursday. You can check that everything's there on Thursday. You can check that nothing's damaged. If there's problems, you've got a couple of days in there, perhaps, to sort out those challenges. What you don't want to be ever doing is when the builder says the kitchen fitter is starting on Monday, do not arrange for the kitchen to be delivered on Monday. Because what will happen is that at 8 o'clock in the morning, the kitchen fitter's there waiting for this kitchen. It doesn't arrive. By 8:30, 8:45, he's on the phone to you saying, where's the kitchen? I can't do anything. You ring the merchant. The merchant says it's on the van. It's on the way. 9 o'clock, the kitchen fitter phones you and says, I'm going to breakfast. If the kitchen's not here when I get back at 9:30, I'm going to another project. Because the kitchen fitter can't earn any money if he's not doing any work. And at the moment, at 9 o'clock in the morning, there is no kitchen for him to install. He comes back after his breakfast at 9:30, the kitchen's still not there. Because even though it's on the truck for delivery, yours is delivery number 4 today. And it can't be brought forward because the truck has been loaded in the sequence for the driver's route to economically deliver all of the kitchens over the day. So the kitchen fitter knows that there's a lady around the corner. He priced her kitchen a few weeks ago. She's got the kitchen in her garage ready to go. So he phones her up and she's available. So he starts installing her kitchen. She is delighted. She's got her kitchen a week ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, your kitchen turns up early afternoon and there's perhaps no one on site to take delivery of it now, or there's other tradesmen and they take it in. But no one checks it because the kitchen fitter's not there. You ring the kitchen fitter and say, it's great, the kitchen's now there. Kitchen fitter says, I'm really sorry, I've started another job. I'll be back next Monday to install your kitchen. And this is the kind of thing that goes on. Even though that delivery was, the difference between, say, 8 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sorry, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of 6 hours or so, um, that could delay you a whole week because tradesmen do not want to be standing around on site. They do not earn any money if they are not doing any work. If they factored in 5 days of installation for your kitchen, say, it probably isn't that long, but let's just say they factored in 5 days of installation of your kitchen. If they can't start at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, then in reality, how do they finish that in 5 days? Do they work on to Saturday? Do they give up some of their time on a Saturday? Do they finish it off the following Monday and therefore disrupt the next kitchen they're going to install? So think about this with everything you get involved with where deliveries are involved. And I talk about kitchens extensively because kitchens are one of those bigger items that I know a lot of property investors will specify and often order themselves. I'm probably 50-50 on that, to be honest. It depends who I'm working with. It depends on the size of the kitchen I'm putting in, and things like that. But most of the time, property investors will be buying their own kitchens. And as a result, I would definitely be talking to the builder about this delivery process. Who's going to unload it? Where's it going to sit? What effect does that have on the work? But how early do you need to get it so that if something is missing or there's a problem, then there is time to sort that problem out. So that's tip number 4. And then the final tip, number 5, is my recommendation is that you do not get involved with buying any real products, any materials for the project, apart from the big meaty items, possibly kitchens, possibly bathroom fittings. I always get involved with floor coverings, carpets, and vinyls. I generally won't get involved with buying anything else on my projects. Maybe some last minute fixtures and fittings, toilet roll holders, coat hooks, and some very basic things like that I might sometimes buy. If you can avoid buying the materials, then there's no way you can be the bottleneck on a day-to-day basis. If you are, and I talk to a lot of property investors who feel that they are getting better value if they buy the materials, I guarantee you're not getting better value. You might think you're saving a little bit of money on the purchase price, and in some cases you will be, but that means you're not valuing your time. You might be able to find a tin of paint £1 cheaper by shopping around, but I guarantee your time is worth more than that £1. So factor that whole thing in from a value perspective. I would not recommend you buy any of the day-to-day materials. If you're in the realms of buying day-to-day materials, what you'll start to find is you'll get a phone call saying, oh, it's the carpenter on site. He's run out of screws because you didn't order enough screws. So he's going home now. So because they don't give you a countdown, I'm nearly out of screws, I'm down to the last pack. They don't tell you that. Oh, I've just turned around and realized there were no more screws. I'm going to have to go home early. And that's going to disrupt you. They may even charge you for the fact that you didn't get enough screws in the first place. And by the way, where did the quantity of screws come from? Oh, they told you the quantity of screws in the first place. And what you'll start to realize in these situations is a lot of builders don't really know the total number of screws they need for these products. And of course, it's lengths of skirting and other things, bags of plaster, all of these things. They get pretty close, and then they'll go and get the last couple later on. If you're involved with buying all of those things, first of all, it will drive you mad. But secondly, you will definitely disrupt the progress of the work, because it's impossible on refurbishment projects working with smaller builders to get accurate material shopping lists straight away. It's a bit more possible on big new builds, and new builds where we've got fully detailed drawings. It's definitely a lot easier. But with day-to-day kind of jobbing builders doing refurbishments where things are uncertain and things are unclear, there's less clarity on the drawings because it's very much replaster all of the existing walls. We don't need to measure it accurately off the drawings or anything. That it's hard for them to give you accurate quantities. And so there's a massive chance that you're going to be continually under ordering, which A, as I say, will drive you mad, but B, will ultimately cause some delay to the projects. So let the builders buy their own materials, maybe get involved with kitchens, bathrooms, and big chunky things. Flooring is the other one, as I say, and let them buy everything else, because that will allow them to progress better. What they'll do is they will buy things on the way in the morning. They'll buy things on the way home in the afternoon. If you're ever around a builder's merchant, I wouldn't ever be there until at least 9:30 in the morning. Prior to that, it is full of builders getting materials for the day. And again, I wouldn't aim to be there after kind of 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because again, it's full of builders collecting things for the following day. Builders merchants are great places to buy things from and great places to get advice from as well. But again, go to builders merchants, get the advice, see the products you like, let the builders buy them. It takes a huge amount of risk out of the project and a huge burden off yourself. And as I say, you'll start to value your time better as a result. So there we go. 5 tips to help you avoid causing a delay on your next project. Good luck with managing your projects, and I'll catch up with you on another episode very, very soon.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Please do like, share, and leave a comment where you can. If you need any guidance or advice with anything to do with your refurbishments or conversions, then don't hesitate to reach out. You can book a free call with me by clicking on the link at the top of my website, refurbishmentmastery.com. There's other ways you can contact me in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.